Welcome, folks, to your Reality Gurus, the show we take a commonsensical approach to issues through complex conversation. You know, I'm your host, G. Cleve. First things first, good evening, good evening, good evening. Don't be rude. Get in the comments and say it right back. Listen, make sure you check out that youtube.com/Reality Guru show. Consider subscribing. Got a dope show for you this evening, man. You know, I got my man DB, got my man Anye, and special guest, Mr. Grasshopper. Grasshopper, how you doing this evening, brother?
Oh man, I'm blacknificent. I'm excellent. And I'm in divine state, but I'm still getting better. How about
good,
you,
brother? And even more excited that I got you here. I got my brothers here, folks. Let's get into it. Y'all see the title, ADOS and Pan Africanism. We gonna get into this discussion right here. You know, over the course of the past few weeks, man, we've been seeing some real steam, some fire coming out of this situation here. The ADOS, if you don't know what that acronym stands for, is the American Descendant of Slaves. It's a movement here in this country that's been getting some steam lately because of you know, people out of this this movement feel like there's something owed. There's a justice claim, and it's not being paid attention to. We're gonna go ahead. We're gonna go into that conversation. So listen, fellas. Let me open it up with you first, Grasshopper. Let's go ahead and get a little bit about you. Now, before we get on camera, I know you wanted to talk about some African loyalty, and kind of get into that topic. With this ADOS and Pan-African situation, which side do you kind of like, you know, fall in line with? Like, which tenets, the ADOS movement or the Pan-African movement?
All right, I appreciate the question. It was the late great Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. May he rest in eternal spirit. He was fond of saying that he is a Pan-Africanist and he's also a black nationalist. And in his last speech, No More Negro Stuff, he clarified that because he was saying that we should, Pan-Africanism, Pan meaning all, should have some form or connection to Africans throughout the 196,940,000 square miles of the planet that we call Earth. So he's a Pan-Africanist. But he also said, I'm a black nationalist. I was born in Houston, Texas. Did a lot of my activism in Harlem, New York. So I'm a focus also on the Africans that I see consistently and persistently that is here in the hills of North America. So I'm echoing the sentiments of late great Dr. Khalid Muhammad. I'm down with both. You gotta dig what I'm saying? Because I truly understand, and I ain't get all caught in the semantics about American descendants of slaves. You know, I call myself an African. I call myself a black. But let's go with the content of it all. Obviously, we're due for some form of reparations. Obviously, I'm definitely down with my kin and kin, my bloodline Africans. I'm down with my comrade Africans, I see right here. And I'm also down with the Africans without the diaspora and the Africans on the continent. So I'm claiming all of them. I'm tired of distinction. I'm tired of the discrepancies. I'm a little tired of disconnection, you know. And I don't think, like we was talking about earlier, sports. It shouldn't be competitive with us as African beings. You know, this is not LeBron James going up against Kevin Durant. This is not Floyd Mayweather going up against Sugar Shane Mosley. This is not late great Walter Payton trying to outrush Eric Dickerson. No, this is us coming together as a whole. So I know there's some distinguishes between the two. When we look at the overall totality of it all, I'm not choosing sides. You know, I just want justice and equality for the honorable African descendants.
Interesting. So, before I follow up, let's go ahead and get my man DB and Ye into this conversation. How you guys feeling about this ADOS and Pan-Africanism? You know, we've been doing some things lately on IGTV, kind of, you know, delving a little bit into this topic. You know, that Dr. Umar Johnson, not too long ago, he was asked some questions, and, you know, he was real vocal on the topic and, you know, how he kind of distanced himself from the ADOS movement. You know, we do know he, you know, studies Pan-Africanism. So you guys tell me, where you guys, I mean, as far as, you know, the two movements, you know, how you feeling about it? Yeah, give me your thoughts.
I support the liberation of our people here and globally. I don't think we can ignore either. But I do agree sometimes we do need to specify, you know, that, hey, you know, we got to fight over here, but I'm just not with division, man. You know what I'm saying? And I just wonder at times, you know, is there like some hidden hands behind this agenda that are trying to divide? That even though it looks like it's a just cause, saying that we're calling for reparations, which we should definitely be calling for. Is it a division? Is there a divisive tactic behind this? And that's what it seems like it's starting to come out in the social media world, and I can't get behind that part of it. So I'm down with both, man. I just want our people to be liberated.
I agree. I agree. I definitely agree. We'll get into a little bit later as far as what I think, in my opinion, why there's such division, with regard to these two movements. But DB, talk to me. How you feeling about the two?
Well, I mean, being that I was born in Jamaica and my culture is in Jamaica, I kind of think I'm automatically negated from the American descendant slave movement. But the thing I was thinking about with that is the fact that the one thing I do kind of like with the idea of the American descendants of slave is that it's grabbing to a bit of the culture here that is under recognized, because unfortunately the slavery and all of the oppression that came with it, the white supremacy that came with it, is part of the journey of Black Americans here, which I kind of understand the need and the desire to claim that. I think that's something that old cultures claim. And I think the thing about Pan Africanism that makes it difficult for Black people is that we don't necessarily, Black Americans don't necessarily have something to grab onto like I might have something to grab onto. Even though I was raised here and I know more about America than I do about Jamaica, I can still go back through my timeline and trace myself back into Jamaica, which I don't think a lot of Black Americans can here. So I understand all of that, and I think that is a powerful thing to recognize. I do have some kind of qualms about what does that mean for the future for all of us, but I understand it, and I actually agree with their idea of reparations for themselves and themselves only. So those parts I do agree with. But it gets a little bit tricky. I think that's something I'll get into a little bit later. But being that I am a Jamaican that is married to an American woman, that has a kid with an American woman, I think that's where things really start becoming tricky when we start talking about what are we claiming as different sects of Black people.
That's an interesting take on that. Yeah, we're gonna definitely open that up. But let me. It's one of the things you did mention that I want to get to ask Grasshopper about, the identity side of things. I bring Umar again, because that was one of his biggest, issues with the ADOS movement, the identity side of it, the fact that they weren't identifying with Africa. So, Grasshopper, how you feel about the idea of, let's say, a conscious descendant of slave here in this country, not adopting to the Pan Africanism, but based on what Umar Johnson is saying, do you feel like they have an identity crisis because they're identifying with slavery? That's what the biggest thing is here. Seems like they have a problem with descendants of slaves identifying with slavery. There's been some talk lately about, the numbers of slaves and, how slavery, was 400 years ago. It's not the way it was presented to us, but, nevertheless, anybody here thinking that slavery didn't take place, some form of slavery didn't take place, chattel slavery didn't take place in this country? So if it did, and you have a conscious descendant of slave who is not thinking anything about Pan-Africanism, can you say he has identity crisis? That's kind of really what I want to get into, Grasshopper. Try to open that up for me.
Okay. I think I understand the question. I appreciate it. All right. First, piggyback on the brother, I think his name Dane, when he talked about a really good point. How he's born in Jamaica and he was raised in the hills of North America, and he had an attachment. Even though he lived out here longer, he could still be attached to Jamaica. And I think it's very apropos for people like myself, who was born in Chicago, raised in South Central Los Angeles. And yes, we can represent where we come from. We have established a culture here in this country. I'm talking about the Black man and Black woman. We're establishing culture. Modern day hip hop is a global phenomenon right now that was established here in this country. So I can see where we can have an identity when it comes to culture here as it relates to this stratosphere of the country. Now, when it comes to them who were born in this country and have an identity crisis, not one to identify with Africa or with the ADOS of Pan Africanism, first of all, I think they need to do a little let's little research on what Pan-Africanism truly is. Like I mentioned earlier, in a simplistic perspective, Pan means all. It means everything. We all together. And the origins of the term, the concept Pan-Africanism is not even derived out of Africa. It's derived out of Trinidad with Patmore and CLR James and Professor Sylvester Williams. You know what I mean? It is really come from Trinidad, you know, and they were able to see fit that, hey, they were not eradicating that they were eradicating that they were a Trinidadian. They were just doing deep, more voluminous research and had a complete comprehension and understanding that we are a descendant. This is the key: descendant, or should I say ascendant, of those who have given civilization its first humanity, or humanity its first civilization. You know, we come from the people that has given spoken word its first language, science its first knowing. So I think what is really very important to me is that we need to go back to our story and do voluminous research and start with teaching our children about the greatness that we come from. Let them know that we are the beginners of civilization, that we are before Alpha and we'll be after Omega. And I think it, to some degree, I ain't gonna say it's gonna be overnight, but we can kind of like reconnect the pieces that Dr. Ben said, because we all got a piece of the puzzle. And once we connect the pieces, I do believe that identity will be eradicated, not disqualifying that, hey, I'm from LA, I'm representing that. You're from the Bronx, you represent that. I know, I definitely know we, those who are ascendants of slavery, we're never going to disqualify that. But also, we're going to go beyond 1619. We're going to go beyond 1492. We're going to go beyond 710 AD. We're going to go beyond even towards the Nile Valley and have a complete comprehension of the greatest that we come from, so we don't have all these disconnections. So I do think it's an identity crisis, but it's only because we have been thoroughly blocked from a thorough knowledge of self.
DB, same question. The identity side of things. How do you feel about it? Conscious descendant of slave, you know, not paying any attention to the Pan-African movement because they're focusing on the justice claim here in this country. How you feel about that? Do you think it's you know, they're suffering from an identity crisis because they're putting a lot of energy into what it is that they identify with here?
I do, mainly because I don't see how you can't. I mean, the fact is, America is probably well, not by itself, Europe and other places as well, but it's the only place where your skin color has so much weight to it. You know what I'm saying? Where I think the need for certain things like Pan-Africanism and so forth speaks to that in the first place. The fact of trying to attach your identity to the motherland where we all come from, right, is pretty much trying to figure out something separate from the oppression that we had. I mean, we had oppression in Trinidad, you had the same oppression in the Caribbean islands. All of these places had oppression. They had colonization, they had slavery. This is another form of that, trying to find that. So I do think there is a bit of identity crisis. I think though it's still kind of hard to, because this is one thing I was thinking about when we was talking about especially Pan-Africanism, is the fact that we can't trace back to specific parts of Africa. Africa is a big continent, right? We can't even necessarily know. I can't necessarily know what tribe I am without really deep research, and we don't have that research. We don't really know what path to follow. That makes it hard to really fully track. But I agree with knowing your knowledge as a people beyond slavery, beyond all of that, and that's something that I think everybody should do to help some of finding that identity besides what America tells you, besides the difference between white and black.
Let me add a little log to this fire. Hopefully, we can open it up a little bit. When I talk about the identity side of things, and I talk about a conscious descendant of slaves, someone who's conscious. I mean, when I say conscious, they understand about where we come from to some degree, but they're focusing more on the justice claim here in this country. Is it fair to consider them, these individuals, that they're going through an identity crisis because they're trying to focus on the justice claim here in this country? Yay. Identity crisis question again. How you feel about that?
Yeah, so that was Dr. Umar's view on it. I think when we're dealing with the name American descendant slaves, you know, it somewhat becomes problematic, you know, from a Pan-Africanist standpoint, because we saying, hold up. We're not gonna start this off with slavery. We know better than that. It was one point in time where people thought that this started off with slavery, where they taught us in school this started off with slavery. But we got the information now. We know the greatness that we come from. But here's the thing, though. This is a movement that's focused on getting these reparations. So I just don't want that viewpoint to divide or to get away from what we're trying to gain. And what we're trying to gain is reparations. It's not. I don't see it dealing in identity, and I don't want the focus to be on identity to get it away from that goal of getting to reparations. If you cannot understand where I'm coming from.
I kind of do, because I was thinking about the whole idea. As far as, I guess, your question, Jay, to answer it more specifically, in the realm of reparations, I don't think it's identity crisis. It's for a specific reason.
Yes.
That part I get. I think the part when it gets tricky, though, is when you put it against Pan Africanism, which seems what a lot of the people are doing. They're making it the cultural sides kind of clash a little bit more beyond just the idea of reparations, which is why these conversations are getting started.
And also when we dealing with reparations, okay, so the rhetoric is starting to become, specifically on social media, hey, we've had all these fights in this country as Black people, and we've let other people jump in on these fights with us, and they fought with us, and then when they got what they wanted out of it, they just left us. Whether it be the Hispanics, whether it be the gays, or whether it have even been feminists, but now it's like we're encompassing in our brothers and sisters from the Caribbeans and our brothers and sisters from the continent, and I don't see them being a part of that. I want to separate those two different groups. I don't see how people have brothers from the continent and brothers from the Caribbean, as opposed to those other examples that I gave that took from our fights and just got the hell on and forgot about us.
Yay, check it out, man. All right, so here's the deal, gentlemen. So as far as this justice claim is concerned, let's open it up a little bit more to kind of stress as to why these members of the ADOS movement are so angry and they're so forceful with this movement. Let's get into it. Even a couple of shows ago, I read a little piece to you, Ye, about what was going on with Black women in slavery times, right? And when you think about, what we represented back then, what we were less than human. We were treated as such, dehumanized, things of that nature, right? The argument comes is like, other, Black people in other countries, in the West Indies, they went through slavery as well. So what's the difference? The dehumanization. Does anybody know when slavery ended in, say, Barbados or Jamaica or whatever? The reason I ask that question is when you ask somebody, when did slavery end here in the United States? What do you think people would tell you? People would tell you that slavery is still going on in some form or fashion. And I don't think you hear people say that about, West Indies. There's a real difference between the experience of slavery in the United States and anywhere else. I'm not saying that in the West Indies there weren't lynchings, they weren't, people weren't just being, Black people weren't just being killed just for no apparent reason. But once slavery ended there, was there, did they run into the Jim Crow? Did they run into that redlining? Did they run into the issues with the civil rights movement? Did they run into the mass incarceration? Did they run into, what I just realized is some of these other holocausts that happened here in this country to us, like, your Black Wall Street and stuff like that. When you start thinking about all of the things, the history in this country, it goes a lot longer than 1865. It goes on a lot longer than that.
Here's the thing I want to expound on. I don't want us to focus our energy on who has it the worst or who's dealt with it the longest, but I want us in this complex chess game going against white supremacy to understand that we are being oppressed globally. I want us to keep that energy on the oppressor and the one who is doing it to us all. I don't want that energy to get redirected upon each other and become divisive. That's when they sit back and they laugh at us and they say, look at them. They still going against each other instead of coming together, going against me. That's what I want our people to focus on globally and here as well. So
what happens to what do you say to say, okay, so a brother who was, you know, born in Brooklyn, parents are from this country, right? He sees an African immigrant come to this country, and this African immigrant in, let's say, in 2 years time, he comes here and, you know, he opens up a fucking store or something in the neighborhood that this descendant slave lives in. When you find out how he was able to do that, you find out that there was resources he tapped into here in this country. And the only reason that he was able to do that is because he fits under the umbrella of minority, right? As a descendant of slaves, right? When you see something like that and know that for years there's been this fight to get the equality and to get the repayment for that section of people, and knowing that, and listen, this is nothing against, you know, this is not an attack on black people outside of this country. It's not what it's about. Yeah, it's more about, let's say, you said you don't want to make this about, you know, splitting us up. You know, we got to focus on the oppression. But what if a descendant of slaves said, fine, we could do that, but let's focus on the reparations first? What would somebody who let's take you, Brother Grasshopper, since Pan Africanism is something that you follow. What the descendant of slaves says, yes, I agree with you. Eventually, we need to get, you know, a member from every melanated ethnic group on this earth to get into a room so we can hash out a plan and figure out what we're going to do for ourselves, right? Yeah, that's the long game. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to do that. We're going to rock with you guys once you come and rock with us and get these reparations. How y'all feel about that? Grasshopper, how you feel about that?
You talking about if let's go on your first question first, as it relates to if an immigrant, like let's say a Nigerian, comes to this country and opens up a business because he's under the minority law. How a person like me feel about that? Well, I would go wondering what is the makeup, who is the proper cause behind why this minority is getting, we call it favor as it relates to open up the business. You know, it's going back to what Akimbe teaches. You know, the systematic white supremacy is always wants to be the puppeteer. They have been doing this since the beginning of time. This is nothing new. They always use the word we've all heard before: divide and conquer. It's been a mechanism that they have had since 1619, 1492. You dig what I'm saying? So my contingent, and this happened. We know others come over here, immigrants, and they get businesses. Some of them, I ain't gonna front. Some of them be putting in the work too, though, man. You know, I mean, some of these students that come from Africa, they be putting in the work, man. They be working very diligently. They be working very solidly. They be working very hardly, and they be kind of running circles around us in certain areas. But it goes to this right here, though. When it comes to getting that favor, I don't think it's even them, to be honest with you. I'm not taking the onus off of systematic white racism or systematic white supremacy. That's what Dr. Francis Wells, may she rest in peace, has taught us. If we don't understand what systematic white supremacy is, it will only confuse us. And you see what is happening right now. Many of us are confused. You said the ADOS is angry. You know, they want their piece of the pie. They want the reparations. And the contingent part is, though, when you get the reparations, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do with reparations? It's about mentally being prepared to handle those money or whatever the resources is that we're going to get. You know, we had the Black Wall Street, we had the Rosewood, we had Allensworth in California, we had our own business, and we see what, you know who, systematic white supremacy, racism done when we have our own. So my contention is, yes, if it's some favor with a Nigerian getting the business, my contention is, how did he get that? It wasn't just him. It was another diabolical entity, and that diabolical entity is systematic white supremacy. I'm not taking the blame off of them. That's the problem. White folks get a pass. They get too many passes, man. They be getting passes at the beginning of time, and they're not gonna get a pass on this one. This is a plan they've been doing, and they continue to do it to keep us divide and conquer. Now we can talk about all the semantics and all the statistics and everything. I'm not knocking that, you know what I mean? But again, the main culprit, the main reason why we're in this situation is because systematic white supremacy. And so, that's my take on that.
No,
I hope.
So here's the thing. So so now we get it. We get that, you know, there's systems in place. We get all that. Now, you being born here, right? Being that you understand that, do you feel that, you know, say African immigrants, West Indian immigrants also feel the same way that you feel with regard to that? Because I don't think so.
How do you think how they feel about like, what do you mean by how they feel? Because they feel what?
This is what I'm saying. A little more. All right, there are resources here, right? That have been paid for in blood, right? Resources have been paid for. It's being, there's wealth, like my man Ray says all the time. There's wealth being eaten right now. So what happens is you got an African immigrant, West Indian immigrant. They may come over to this country, and because of all of the struggle, you know, your affirmative action, and then of course, and all of these little subsidies and stuff that are given to minority business enterprises, you know, disadvantaged, you know, all of that stuff that melanated people can take advantage of. That stuff was bought and paid for by the slaves that were here in this country. So when an African immigrant, West Indian immigrant comes over here and is able to take advantage of those resources, do they ever look at the descendants of slaves and say, well, thank you? There's never any appreciation.
Well, can I answer that one? Can I go on that one a little bit, y'all? Well, again, going back to the chess game, we have a lot of brothers and sisters here that are deaf, dumb, and blind, that don't have that thorough knowledge of self, never even heard what Pan Africanism is. We have brothers from the Caribbean, brothers and sisters from the Caribbean that are lost as well, brothers and sisters from the continent that are lost as well. And we're talking about immigrants coming over here. We're speaking specifically about U.S. embassies in these countries that are granting specific Africans a way to come over here. So they, you know, if they looking at this African and saying, hold up, this African right here is too revolutionary. Hold up, he looks like he might actually go over there and connect with brothers and sisters over there and build with them and make some connects back to Africa with these resources. Hold up, we're not gonna allow him citizenship to come over here. But this African right here, you know what? He just wants to get out of poverty. He just wants to send money back to his family. We're going to allow him to come on over. And before we allow him to come on over, we're going to show him a lot of negative videos and propaganda about blacks. And we're going to tell him to stay away from those blacks over there when he gets over there. Because if you do get cool with those blacks and you start building with them, we're going to take that citizenship away and we're going to send you right back to this poverty that we created in the first place because we underdeveloped your country in the first place. So again, we got to understand the chess game that we're in. There are Pan-African and the Kimbe. I mean, let me just interject. And who is showing these Africans the negative images about blacks over here? Who's the probable cause behind that distinction? It goes back to what Francis Wellington teaches. It's white folks showing them these pictures. It's systematic white supremacy giving them the delusion of negative grandeur as it relates to Africans over here, or it is some Willie Lynch Negro that is sitting under the coattail of systematic white supremacy. It all goes back to them. No matter how we want to move it, it goes back to them. And that's exactly how it hypnotizes our minds, because now we say, damn, every Nigerian I've run into, every Jamaican I've run into, they don't fuck with blacks. They don't fuck with blacks. And so now in our minds, we say all Jamaicans don't fuck with blacks. All Africans don't fuck with blacks. But if you talk to a black man or woman who has went to Africa, they will tell you how they have been embraced, how they've been treated like celebrities by the brothers and sisters over there. So, I mean, you know, it's a chess game, and we got to understand what we up against.
My mama told me we went to Kenya, and I had a DNA test too, though. And I had a DNA test. I'm part of Mukamba tribe in Kenya. This is in East Africa. When she went to Kenya, she had the same type of mindset. All Africans don't like us. They think they better than us, but yada, yada. And she went over there. She was thoroughly surprised. And when she left Africa, They told her, tell our family in America to come home. She said they told her, tell them to come back home. So my contention is, it is your purpose, it is how you perceive. And once again, having the thorough knowledge of self. And don't get it twisted, Africans on the continent, the Europeans have colonized them very corruptly. Well, they do have some Willie Lynch-ism up in their mind. You got some of them that do think they look down on us. Don't get it twisted. But like you said, my contention is I'm not going to put it as the total continent. And once they get a thorough knowledge of self, I'll put it like this. I want to allow them to make it seem like they're all blacks over here are walking around the street, black males with their pants sagging, using a whole bunch of obscenities when they're talking, all about the rap game. No, we also got a part to play that shows the stand-up African over here, the stand-up black man over here. I'm talking to 3 other individuals who are stand-up Africans. So we are the example of that negative stigma. But once again, I know I'm sound like a broken record, but it is so true. Systematic white supremacy, I ain't call it systematic white racism is the proper cause. Capitalism, colonialism, neo-colonialism, all the isms, it goes back to that peckerwood. Excuse me.
DB, let's get you back. DB, let's get you back here for a minute. I'm gonna ask you this question because this you can speak to this personally. So Ye is talking about how once attempted to come to this country, they get the speech. They get the speech about stay away from the Black American, this, that, whatever. Is that something that being that you're from have roots in Jamaica, is that something that you have heard coming up that when you got someone getting ready to take a trip to go over and move to the States, to America, they tell you to stay away from black people? Is that something that you've heard in that culture?
I've been here since I was 3, so I don't have that concept.
I don't mean you. I don't mean you.
Mentioned
listen,
before.
man. All right.
Yeah. Well, no, I get it. I'm gonna say it like this though. Like I'm gonna say, like as far as my experiences, there's always that idea of like we talked about before with the interracial relationships. Like stay with a Caribbean woman, stay with a Jamaican woman because you want to keep that stuff in your culture. Like a lot of stuff I'm hearing, which is true. There's a lot of everything that Anya and Grasshopper is saying is true. But I think there's also a culture class because it's shit that you learn in your own country as well. Like Jamaica is a huge aspect of colorism, right? So it's good. You kind of could really see how that kind of plays out here. I kind of think the shit gets tricky. Again, this is going through my own experience now. Is when you're somebody like me, like who's been here for a long time, like like I'm about to be 40 years in America compared to 3 years in Jamaica. You know what I mean? This is basically my knowledge base. I have my son. This is all the fuck that he knows. You know what I mean? He knows the same oppression that another black kid his age who had just 2 Black American descendants all the way down. He's facing that same oppression. That kind of shows you once we get here, we're under that same oppression. Somebody like how you mentioned, Jay, in your original scenario, somebody who just get here might not get that because they have other resources that come to them. But once they get here and the kids are here, then what happens to the kids? The kids experience that same thing. There's some unity within the Black experiences that we all get caught up in that white supremacy. I'm getting caught up in the rhetoric right now. The white supremacy, that is here.
I say, well, if that's the case, though, see, this is what I'm saying. This is why I feel that the idea of the ADOS movement should be more popular, because if what you're saying is that maybe your first generation comes over here and they still got Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad in them, but once they have their offspring, right, they basically go through the American experience. So why don't we have more individuals on the ADOS movement, since people have been coming from the West Indies for fucking years? Now their children are here. I mean, unless in the households they're still teaching that same nonsense to stay away from Black Americans. Is that possibly what's going on?
It could be, but I could say like it's. I mean, yeah, because the same thing that we saw. Anya was talking about with that Willie Lynch's syndrome. Basically, it's the same thing Black Americans are taught. Every Black person everywhere is pretty much taught that it has been colonized. That is a mind state, that divide and conquer. So that doesn't change, even against Black Americans. So that how we mentioned like Black Wall Street. That's to me one of the reasons why Black Wall Street and all these prominent Black places didn't last. As soon as we was able to desegregate, we ran up out of it for better opportunities with the white people. That mentality is there. But as far as like the original question, like why a lot of people don't jump on, honestly, I haven't heard that welcoming statement from some of the ADOS stuff. Mainly, it kind of has the air like this is our fight. This is what we got to do. And as far as the reparations, I agree they should do that. I'm not going to take that away from them. That should be their shit. This is the oppression that you faced under this country, which is different from the shit I faced in my country, or more my family, my ancestors faced in their country. So we got two different fights on that aspect. But I don't hear too much as far as like when I'm talking about like future generations, like where do we actually go? You know what I mean? So like how you made a scenario of basically, if we decide we do the reparations and we could work on the other shit later on, I just don't hear the later on shit.
Because nobody's talking about the right now. You understand what I'm saying? We can't even like, and that was my attitude towards Umar's statement. Like, and just in general, the Pan African, the idea that we are all one people, and we got to stick together. And I'm gonna be honest with you, there's a lot of bullshit in that. And there ain't no identity crisis that I'm going through. Like, you put Obama in the fucking office, right? He's a melanated person, right? And you saw what the fuck he did. Yeah. So he was in the most powerful position in this land, right? In this world, right? And he was melanated. Albeit that his mother was white, but he was a melanated man. And he did nothing for the experience. Nothing for the experience. So my thing is, you want to keep talking about getting us all on one accord? That's not the reality of it. So let's talk about what's reality. What's reality is there was torture going on in this country, and it was a group of people who were the victims of it. 400 years later, there's still been no repayment for it. None whatsoever. But there's immigrants coming over here and they're eating. Before we listen, it's like this. The meal is ours, right? The meal is ours. And before we even got a fucking plate, there's already a few fucking hands in the pot. This is our meal. Our meal. And before we even put fucking fork the plate, somebody is already in there eating and not even considering us. And they look like us too. So forget about the white supremacy part of it. I want to know the responsibility of the other ethnicities in this black culture that are eating shit, right? And they're not even trying to join the movement to get the whole fucking pie. You eating these crumbs, but you won't join the movement to get the whole fucking pie. That's my problem. Excuse my language, gentlemen.
Can I just jump in real quick before y'all start? I think if you're just talking about the matter of resources, you kind of blame the people who give those resources and the opportunity to those people and not you. Because at the end of the day, they're just going for opportunity like anybody else.
They don't say that we are all on this one accord. Because if we are, you ain't going there to get a plate of ribs for you. You're going to get a plate of ribs for you and everybody behind you. I get that. That to me goes back. That goes back to just your culture. Like basically, you're still attached to this other culture before you get here. I think that's something. Once you intertwine, that's something a little bit different. But it still doesn't take the fact that they're just going for the opportunity that is here. The opportunity was never here. They wouldn't be here. So why are they able to get the opportunity? And American descendants of slaves never got the opportunity. Well, what we know though, what we do know, because y'all made it clear, we do know because they can be sent back to their native fucking lands. That's the problem.
So G, let me ask you this question. Okay, so because okay, we're asking why a lot of people are not jumping on board with ADOS, but I like to think because it's still fairly new. The snowball effect it's new. It's going to get bigger and bigger, but we're all just trying to understand and grasp this concept right now. So it seems like from what you're saying and what I'm hearing from a lot of people on social media or whatnot is we're finally trying to gain some type of identity, some type of concrete identity. Don't give me this, we are the world, we trying to connect with everybody, because all these people we're trying to connect with, they have their specific identity. We don't have ours. Let's figure this out right now, and let's figure out what's owed to us. Is that what you're saying?
Come on, buddy.
If you're saying that, I can.
But that's the thing, though.
Because like I said, the pot ain't even turned off yet, and motherfuckers is eating this food, and we ain't even have.
But see, that's the only part that kind of throws me off. Like I agree with that part totally. Like when I was saying at the beginning, like grabbing onto that culture that is y'all, because that is part of y'all culture. It's just now when you put it face to face with somebody else's culture, because they look like me, that's when it becomes a problem. That's when the idea, the vision becomes, because now is this is my culture. And my culture, I'm not saying like this is you saying it, Jay, but it could come off like this is my oppression. My oppression is worse than your oppression, and you're coming here eating off of my oppression, and
let me not put
then it becomes a problem.
If you're not going to support the movement, then don't touch the resources. That's all I'm saying. Don't come over here and benefit from affirmative action. Benefit from minority business enterprises. Disadvantage. Don't come over here and benefit from none of that shit, because the only reason that's even here is because of the struggle that the descendant of slaves have continued. That's the only reason. Don't come in here.
Gee, I'm with you. And what I have to keep coming back to is focusing that energy on the one who caused this mass problem. Okay.
I will as soon as you get your head out my pot.
We saying that he's holding those resources, and these are resources that are owed to us. I need that. I want that. How dare you come and snatch some of these resources that's meant for me? This shit is owed to me. But I'm just saying it's almost like a scenario of a parent that gave so much more favor to one child than another child. I don't want us as brothers to start going at it because of what they're holding away from us. But I want us to say, you know what? I don't even want us to be asking. I don't even want us to be hoping for it. I don't even want us to be in this victimized fetal position. I want us to get in that position and that mentality to say, fuck that. We owe that. Let's take this shit. How the fuck can we take this shit? I'm not even worried about him over here. I'm coming after you because you got this shit that I'm owed, and I'm coming to take that shit.
It's just the thing. I'm with all that, yeah. I'm with all that. I honestly don't even have a problem with, anybody in this black culture getting some of this shit. I don't have a problem with that, but just make sure you know where it comes from. Miss me with this, you're fucking turning your nose up to fucking black Americans in this country, and you here. You on this, you in this country turning your nose up to motherfuckers who've been there before you. You can have some of this food. I'm a generous motherfucker. I'm generous, but just know where it came from. Watch your mouth. Be careful how you talk about black Americans. You guys are telling me that they get the speech before they get on the boat, before they get on the plane, they get the speech. But you gonna come over here and turn your nose up to us and this our fucking land? Miss me with that.
Well, again. We got
no, that's cool. No, he bringing some very good points, and I get what he's saying. But you also got blacks over here turning those up to. It's no different from a petty bourgeois turning those up to a black young man in the ghetto. You know what I mean? They get extra credit. They get extra resources. You know what I mean? So if we're gonna break it down from an international perspective, you got also break down what's going in the house. I'm pretty sure no Steve Harvey, no uppity. I don't want to call them sellouts, but you know what I'm talking about. Is going to be a part of the ADOS movement or the Pan African movement. So I definitely see what my man is talking about as far as, yes, you do have those Africans that get shown favor, and they do have an arrogant type of attitude toward blacks over here, though. I'm totally against that. I'm just saying, from a solutions perspective, I'm looking at the overall cause of it. I'm not going to focus on the effect, and y'all already know what the cause of it is, but they do also have their part to play as well, though. So my contention is, I guess your new name is Jay on stage. We gotta go. You know what I mean? It's not easy. Anyway.
His new name is Jay.
He said, "Yeah."
He like, who is Jay?
He's a Kimba, but it's all good though. But anyway, freedom is.
I was there close to using Kimba too, but I was like, nah, that's Jay. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, that's easy. You know what I mean? I got a lot of names too. Don't even trip though. But mainly, like what you guys were saying, I definitely in agreement with it, and it is definitely an important discussion. But like I keep saying, freedom, getting resources, not something that's going to be given. To be honest with you, I don't think capitalism or white racism is going to give out reparations to us, because like y'all clearly indicated, that those who come over this country, they can extrapolate it back to where they come from, in particular Africa. And let's be real, a lot of people that is not indigenous to Africa is running Africa, so they're gonna get the money back anyway. So they defecating and urinating at the same time, all in one swivel. So my contention is, I'm not opposed to the ADOS movement, and I'm not opposed to the Pan African movement. I'm just saying, find your identity. That's a term right now, and also be able to utilize it to the best and for its highest and greatest efficiency.
Can I just throw a personal thing in there though, Ronnie? Because honestly, all right, so like one of the first videos I ever seen about ADOS was by the creator, Antonio Moore. And I think within that one that he was talking about, and it might have been another one too on attached to it, where like when he started talking about, because he talks about inequality a lot, and he talks about the wealth inequality and the difference between the races. He kind of always seems to take out these other races, Latinos and all this other, and not necessarily immigrants. He just takes out that out of the bunch because he wants to stick to the American descendants of slaves, which is just black. When I hear stuff like that, and mind you, Jay, me and you grew up over 20 years. I'm again identify myself more American than anything else because I was raised with everybody. I know Latinos, Haitians, Africans, straight up black people, all from the Bronx. You know what I mean? Like I have that Bronx experience with everybody else, so I rock with everybody. But with this last couple of months, it made me think about my identity more. Like basically that I have a specific journey, and this is what it does. And not necessarily there's anything wrong with that, but it's that feeling of, can I really attach my journey with yours because it's not being mentioned? Like, even if I play the back when it comes to things with reparations, am I even welcome to actually do that? That's my only issue when it comes to that. Everything else I agree with. Like, I don't see the attachment.
What would be wrong with just immigrants, melanated immigrants, just saying, we are here there's some history in this land that we don't know shit about, and we're going to be careful about the things that we say. We're going to be cautious about some of the things that we do, because it can offend the individuals who are still still trying to reap get the benefits from this justice claim. All right, that's all I'm saying, and I think that's all any descendant of slave is asking for.
But here's the thing: most people that come here, most of them are not even knowledgeable of that. Number one. Number two, does it even matter to them because we're not the ones in power here? And three, I'm just trying to get the hell out of poverty where I'm from, and I'm trying to gain wealth here to send money back to my family. So I could care less about that. That's not a part of my mental. That's not what I'm here for. So again, that's the chess game. That's the chess game that they're playing against us. They just thinking about poverty. They want to get away from that. They can care less about our feelings over here.
So so tell me about the responsibility that an immigrant has. That if they come over here ignorant and don't know anything about the history, but they go and they start, tapping into benefits, that They don't know the history of these benefits. They don't know how where did the fuck affirmative action come from? They have no idea. So what responsibility?
As the example that Brother Grass gave, these brothers and sisters that come here that just have no knowledge of self and are not trying to connect with us and show respect, I put them in the same category as these Negroes here that are not connected with us and that are living up in the hills by the white folks or whatnot. I want to connect with brothers and sisters who are on the same wavelength as me, and that's why I think we need to evolve as a people. You gave the example of an Obama. You know, that's a fault of our people by just looking at somebody and saying, oh, he's black, he's down. No, that mentality has to evolve. We thought that way in one point in time, and that was cool, that worked. But then we saw the presence of COINTELPRO and how they could stick somebody right next to you that looks just like you and that could talk that jive, but you know what I'm saying, they working for a whole different purpose. So I need to know what your mentality is like. I need to know your resume. I need to know where you're from. I need to know your ideology. I need to know some people that can vouch for you in your childhood. If you're going to come over here and you're going to fight in this cause with me, we got to be strategic. We got to be militarily strategic with how we move and who we bring in and who we work with.
And also, I want to add, because I know you, Jay, you're probably not saying this, but now all immigrants are the same. Like the same ones I told you I mentioned I grew up with are the same ones that, like me, had a barrel in their room that they used to pack food and all kinds of other shit that they used to send to their family. It's basic, and used to work the same blue collar jobs like everybody else did. So a lot of them was just about feeding their family. At least the ones I know. There are definitely ones like you mentioned, but not every.
I'm not saying that.
I think that is part of the same. No, I know you're not. I know you're not. But I just want to put that out there because I don't want that mentality to be like all immigrants are coming and taking our shit. And
okay, I'm not making it seem like that it's a conspiracy that you're going to bring everybody from the West Indies and we're going to mix so no one can claim to be descendant of slave no more because we won't be able to. It's not a conspiracy. I'm saying they come over here, of course, looking for a better life. Be that as it may. The fucking resources that you are benefiting from belong to a certain group of people that are from here. That's all I'm saying, bro. That's it.
Here's a question I want to pose to everybody. Okay, so again, within this chess game, I always question when we finally are given something. Hold up. What's the real agenda behind this? Because you don't give a fuck about us. You ain't trying to give us shit. Why the fuck are you trying to give us a handout? That really makes me question and say, hold up, are you trying to divide us even more? Because I could just imagine if reparations was given out and certain people it was given to and other people it wasn't given to. And you got people that's like, maybe like Dane's son, it's like, hold up. My parents, I got a parent the parents that's Jamaican or whatnot, but I was raised here my whole life. I went through this experience. Why I can't get none of that? Why you get all of that? And then it causing more confusion and more chaos amongst our community. So we have to be mindful of that as well.
Just like West Indian, African, immigrant, anybody who comes over here, their what Dane was talking about, their focus is 2-3 jobs, make as much money as possible, pack them barrels and send it. That's their priority. They ain't thinking shit about a reparation. Correct. They ain't thinking about shit about a descendant of slave. Yeah. They think about getting this buck, filling this barrel, and getting it down to the family. Right? So can you not understand why descendants of slaves are apprehensive? Because there's something else that's already priority for you. Something else, just like with Pan Africanism. What's priority in Pan Africanism is getting us all on one accord. But the descendants of slaves got to focus on this justice claim. And the immigrants that come here and focusing on family, they got to focus on getting that money and getting that barrel down there. You understand? So it gets difficult to get us all on one accord when we got all different priorities, man. You understand? We all got different priorities.
Yeah. Good point.
But the ADOS movement, the priority for them is that motherfucking check, one way or another. Get it out here. Let me not hold you guys too long. I want to go ahead and get in the final thoughts. Grasshopper, I do appreciate you being here, man. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you go ahead and start off. Is there anything with regard to this conversation, ADOS, Pan Africanism, identity that you want to throw in there before we step up out of here?
Nah, y'all pretty much said it all. This is something that's new to me as it relates to this movement, and I definitely learned a lot. I'm gonna do some more thorough, voluminous research. on this. But my contingent in my final thought is, yes, you may have some of those Africans that's not in America to come here, and they may reap the benefits of the blood, sweat, and tears our ancestors have done here in this country, you know. And you also have some of those who are here who also take advantage of the blood, sweat, and tears. Africans here, African Americans here, that take advantage of blood, sweat, and tears that our ancestors have done in this country. So my thing is, though, that we, whether you're part of ADOS or those of us who want to get the bag as it relates to some form of reparations, is to continue to pursue as you see fit to pursue as it relates to getting the bag. But we don't have to be at odds. We don't have to clash when it comes to other not other ethnicity, but other cultural nationalities that have the same ethnicity come over and get a piece of the American pie, because there's no such thing as the American dream anyway. So my contention is, I'm Pan Africanist. I'm also down with the Black nationalist movement here as well, coming together. And like you said, we don't have to be on one accord, but we all can respect each other's opinion and respect what each other's doing as it relates to getting our piece
That's it, brother.
of the bag.
Appreciate you having you here. Yay, come on, man. Finish up strong, buddy.
Hey, I'm gonna keep it simple and plain for you. They took the bag from us, so we gotta come together and take that motherfucking bag back, straight up and down. We need to unify in the process. We need to gain identity in the process. We need to get back in power. We need to get back to righteousness, straight up and down. I ain't with the division. Let's take back what's owed to us, because they ain't gonna give it back. So I ain't with the rhetoric of waiting for them to give it to us. Let's go figure out how to go take
Well,
that
also,
shit.
look up Miss Marianne Williamson. You remember her, right? She was talking about giving out a whole bunch of fucking reparations. So I don't know, man. I don't know. With DB, come on, man. Last time we were here, final thoughts. You bailed out on us, man. We need a final thought from you, brother. Come on, man. Finish up strong, DB.
You know what, man? Grasshopper said an interesting thing earlier about black nationalism, mainly because, you know, my idea is we need to claim our blackness, just like how white people claim their whiteness. So for me, anywhere where your skin color is your badge, you got to claim your culture any way you need to.
Yeah, fellas, I appreciate you guys being here. Let me go ahead and toss another log into this fire before I end it off, man. You know, if I haven't said it before, I'll say it again. My ancestry derives from slave and Native American. So I understand. I understand. Check this out. Immigrants, melanated immigrants, black people. Listen, there's no problem at all with us being on one accord. We can definitely get there. But in this country, again, there's a justice claim. And this movement, they're going to keep moving until they get it. And as you guys, you know, continue to come into the country and enjoy the benefits that come from the torture that, you know, my descendants, I mean, my ancestors have gone through. You know, do like they say in hip hop, man. If you're going to steal a verse, you know, pay homage, you know, say thank you, you know, don't turn your nose up to individuals who are here in this country that have the claim and they're fighting for something. They're owed it, respect it, treat us well, and hopefully we can come on one accord, because that's what we need. But folks, another Dynamite show. I know it was late. Anybody who fucked with us, I appreciate you. But I got my man DB. Got Anye. First time guest Grasshopper. I'm G Cleve. Make sure you check out that YouTube Reality Gurus and consider subscribing. Take care.